to my introductions on behalf of Joe Steckler, our president and founder, and Nancy Deerdorf, our operations director. Let me welcome to the broadcast microphone, as they say in show business, Susan Houts with Coastal Occupational Therapy, one of the great partners at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. Hello, Susan.
Hi, Kerry. It's great to be here, as usual. You all do a fantastic job, and this is one of my favorite parts of my week or month when I get to stop by and talk to you guys.
Yeah, thank you for squeezing us into schedule. You guys are so active in the community. It's amazing. Jeetal Patel, who is the owner of Coastal Occupational Therapy, what a great service you guys are in general, because you bring the services to where folks are. So it's not like they have to try to figure out how to get to an appointment or thing. You actually show up for them. But not only is there all of that, but then you guys are so involved in the community. We were just talking about, you were just involved with the Palm Bay Police Department in a big community-focused effort called CarFit, which fits into a program that Jeetal started called Drivability, right? Talk a little bit about that, because it sure looked great from all the Facebook pictures and everything.
It's really an exciting program. It's a nationwide program put together by AAA, AARP, and AOTA, which is the American Occupational Therapy Association. And the idea is that to double check to make sure that we actually fit in our cars. So a lot of times we buy a car, we get in it, whether we've had it for just a little while or a long time, and we just kind of go, excuse the term, but on autopilot. And we may not be sitting in the right or correct or most safe posture, or maybe our mirrors aren't set correctly. We had some folks that came by the Greater Palm Bay Senior Center yesterday, which is where our CarFit event was from 8 to 10. It was greatly attended. We had some folks that couldn't quite reach the pedals, or were sitting on cushions, right, or their mirrors were just not correctly set, so they weren't seeing all of the cars around them. So we do things like CarFit and like Drivability to ensure safety for the driver, but of course we're all driving the roads with these drivers, so for the safety of all of us. And it's really exciting. Jeetal is a driving rehab professional and, of course, a certified and registered and licensed occupational therapist. So having that expertise looking at posture and looking at the safety inside the car, which we don't often think about until, unfortunately, something happens, is an incredibly valuable service and skill for each individual, but also for the community as a whole.
You know, I was thinking as you were talking about, first of all, it looks like you guys had a great turnout for this. And what a great thing. You know, we're so busy complaining about drivers on the road and, why did this one make that turn, or those kind of things. And yet you guys are really focused on getting at the root of it and making sure that we are safe drivers on the road.
That's right. It's a lot of considerations. We know about distracted driving and things of that nature. But really, especially in our senior population, there are things that, and really all of us, that can get in the way of driving. So when we start seeing some cognitive issues or even physical issues, if we can't turn our necks all the way around, if you have shoulder pain or back pain, then you're not able to kind of check for that, the person crossing the street, or your peripheral vision to the car to the right. So making sure that we are all healthy physically as well as mentally has a lot to do with our occupational therapy services. And those mental and physical considerations, again, we kind of know that impacts driving, but it may be perhaps until someone in your family begins to drift over to the other lane, or maybe they get lost on the way home, or they're not quite as confident. I know my grandmother at one point had difficulty, something as easy as filling the gas tank. She just had a little bit more of a challenge understanding that process where she hadn't before. Those are all signs and signals that we want to look out for that will have longer impact. So a lot of sometimes our family members might get a little frustrated, or they might get concerned and they don't know where to turn. That's where our Drivability program kicks in. It's where Jeetal can come out and have those discussions. We do a thorough evaluation, a clinical evaluation, to make sure the cognitive and reflexes are there before we get behind the wheel, and then she takes them behind the wheel if it's appropriate, and make sure they're safe on the road. And it's having that discussion. For some folks, it's just a matter of maybe some adaptive equipment that they can have installed in the car, and we work with some local partners for that. Or maybe it is time to start discussing that driving retirement. And for a lot of families, it's much better to have a third party like Jeetle or myself come in and speak to them than them having to talk to mom or dad or a sibling and say, maybe it's time that we look for other driving options.
You know, what I was thinking about, first of all, Jeetle is just an amazing occupational therapist. I see how skilled she is and her team about working with families in their home to keep them as mobile and safe as possible. I know you guys do a lot with fall prevention and all those kind of things as well. But I was thinking how unique it is that she gets into the role and kind of champions this drivability thing. Because not only, if there is some maybe mobility issues, she's an expert at being able to help see if those are solvable. But also what I love about this, because a lot of times, you feel like if somebody says, oh, we're going to have somebody come and evaluate your driving, you feel like when it's time you have to take that driving course at the motor vehicle department, and they're just sitting there with their checklist ready to fail you and yank your license. And yet that's not what this is about at all, because Jeetle's able to, if there's some certain challenges, she not only can help maybe the person overcome them, but even help them, like you were talking about, with the adaptive equipment, right? So that driving is now safe and functional. And if it's not safe, then we all need to just know that and then move on to, because there are a lot of other good options, but we have to really value it. But what I like is that she's not just there to, quote, punish the senior and
That's
say,
right.
we have to take this away. She's there to find a solution if it's possible.
That's right. And the great thing about our community, we work with the Space Coast Transportation and Planning Organization with Drive Safe for Life. Mm-hmm. There are wonderful options out there. We have, of course, rideshare options. We have mass transportation options. And really, sometimes it's just about transportation planning. We have some clients that don't drive very often, but that fear of losing their independence is really what again, excuse the pun, but drives that fear of losing their keys and then not having that option. But again, safety has to be paramount. So once we do sit down and discuss and say, what other options are there? Do you have friends and family around that can help get you to where you need to go? If you need to go to the church or the grocery store, how are there other ways we can get you there? And then there is a kind of a sense of relief of not having that concern of getting behind the wheel. And yes, there is adaptive equipment that is needed, whether it be a spin bar or a spin knob on the steering wheel in case there's some wrist issues or shoulder issues. Again, there's neuropathy issues where we can have some pedals put in. There's lots of options that, again, it takes that first phone call. A lot of folks it seems insurmountable. It seems like they're not sure what to do. And so our answer is, if you don't know what to do, call us. That's what we're here for. Reach out to us. We just want to make sure that everybody is safe and comfortable because it's an important process. It's one of those activities of daily living that is crucial in terms of movement, but we can also find ways to make it possible. And then, like Kerry, like you said, if it might be that there's issues because of something physical that occupational therapy can help fix, and we can work with that too.
Yeah, I was going to say I'm going to reserve a couple of minutes when we get into the second half of the show, because I do want to share with people the value, because I always smile about my first exposure to occupational therapy was my mom. It's like, oh no, she's retired, because we get that a lot. We don't understand these terms,
right?
And there is so much good that you guys are able to do. If somebody wants to call you, they're hearing us talk about drivability, the Car Fit program, all those kind of things, or just in general, how do they reach Coastal Occupational Therapy? What's a good number that they could reach you guys?
Great. Just reach out to us at 321-361-8040, and you'll be speaking to me. My name is Susan, and you can just say you heard us on this wonderful program, and we will just be able to talk you through whatever concerns that you have. We take care of getting the referral from your doctor. And again, we're not there to pass or fail you. It's not that if you have an assessment that's not great, we're going to snatch those keys away. It really is just a discussion point of saying, here are some red flags, here are some yellow flags. This can be adjusted, or, for the sake of yourself and everyone around you, let's talk about some driving retirement options. But it's just like what we say with occupational therapy. We want to catch you before the fall.
Right.
Which kind of seems, it kind of seems counterintuitive. How do you catch someone before they fall? But that's the idea. If we can increase your strength, if we can increase your balance, if we can create a safe home environment where you're not having hazards that will cause you to fall, then you have a much safer, happier, more beautiful holiday and life ahead of you. And that's what we are here at Coastal Occupational Therapy is all about. Our hashtag and our motto is to keep life moving. And that's really what we're there to do. So again, to reach us, 321-361-8040, or you can find us online at Coastal Occupational Therapy.
Yeah, and I was going to say you have a great Facebook page that you always keep updated with some amazing photos. I think there was some great photos from the Drive Fit event that the Car Fit event. I keep saying it wrong. The Car Fit event that you guys just had. What a great resource in the community. But that's also been the idea of the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. This was a vision that Joe Steckler. Joe is the guy. He retired Navy captain. Last command in the Navy was the retirement home for the Navy in Gulfport, Mississippi. And then he and his lovely wife Terry decided to call the Space Coast home for their retirement years. And Joe couldn't stay retired, so first he created the Brevard Alzheimer's Foundation, got everything built there with the Joe's Clubs and all that. And then when I met him, which was right as he was getting things rolling with helping seniors, he'd retired from that once again, couldn't stay retired. Joe is 89. He's going to be 90 this month in December, so a couple of days. He'll be 90 in the month of December, and he still works every day, every single day, working on behalf of seniors in Brevard County. But he said when I met him, he said, I've realized that seniors have difficulties that go beyond sometimes cognitive issues. He said there's many seniors who are just fine with cognitive and cognition and those kind of things, but are having all kinds of other issues because they're trying to navigate aging. And so he talks about an aging plan, which I always distill down to, we get hurricane plan here in Florida. Doesn't mean we want a hurricane. It just means we want to know how we will react if they tell us it's bearing down on us. And that's what an aging plan does. We euphemistically call it getting your ducks in a row, just to try to make it seem a little less intimidating and maybe incorporate a barnyard into it somehow. But what we decided over the years was you really need to have good local help for everything that you're running into along the aging path. A lot of people will see 800 numbers and they'll say, oh, I know that actor from my favorite TV show, so I'm going to call him about fill in the blank. It could be anything from Medicare insurance. It could be about reverse mortgages. It could be possibly about I got to find another place that my mom or dad could live at. And it's wonderful, but you're calling a call center in Des Moines, Iowa, and they're going to look on Google just like you would and say, oh, here's a good thing. We could connect you with this. And what I love about Joe's vision for the Senior Resource Center Brevard is that he really wanted to get expert local people together who could help navigate the senior system. Because one of the things when we say get your ducks in a row, the other thing we say to it is don't try this on your own. Mm-hmm. And I could parade in front of you lots of elder law attorneys who can give you really dollar and cents reasons why when you see those commercials that say, oh, you can do your own estate planning online, just 1-800-something.com. And these guys make a lot of money fixing the mistakes that those things create, because when you need those documents to work and they don't, there's no do-over. You just can't do it over. And so there's so much benefit to getting wisdom of local people. And that was Joe's whole thing behind the Senior Resource Center of like, let's get people together who are committed to doing the right thing for seniors, who do this locally, 100%. We're 100% local charity to Brevard. We're 100% about helping seniors in Brevard. It doesn't mean we don't get calls from the kids of adult kids of seniors here in Brevard who maybe came down at Thanksgiving time and said, wow, I don't know if mom can handle this much as well as she could, a couple of years ago. I don't know where to begin. So they call us, and we call that senior navigation. So the Senior Resource Center of Brevard is something that Joe has had in mind since the day he opened the doors of helping seniors, now in our 13th year of service. And we were so fortunate that Dr. Craig DeLigdish of Omni Healthcare said, I want to get behind you. I want to help you make this happen. I'm going to help you guys organize the Senior Resource Center. So we've now taken over a great deal of the second floor of his lovely Omni Healthcare Professional building right there. It's right on the medical campus, downtown Melbourne. It's a big 4-story building. Literally, I'd say it's kind of like behind the hospital, right there on Apollo Boulevard. And what we have been intently working on is trying to make that a full-fledged resource center. We've had a bunch of great events there. We just finished up a thank you to veterans on the week of Thanksgiving. And Susan, you put together a most marvelous holiday local marketplace thing like the week before. And it was, what a fantastic idea. We had like all these local businesses come out with their wares. You had like a great hot chocolate bar. It was like I walked in there and it was like a scene from a Hallmark movie.
And that was the goal. And that was a brainstorm with a couple other of the business or the resident sponsors at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard. Joe Pons helped me with that one quite a bit.
Yeah.
And Jennifer from Seniors Helping Seniors. We just kind of sat and thought, we have this beautiful space. We have this beautiful resource. And how do we bring people here to meet us, but also to know that, we're here year round, and how do we make it fun? And I'm a very huge fan of Brevard. I've been in Brevard almost my whole life. And I love what our local shops, what our local art scene, what our local musicians, our local education scene has for our community. And so anytime we can make those connections, I think it just benefits everyone. And coming from the education background where, working with students, we kind of, as a society, which I think is great, we do have a system set up for students. If they want to go to college, like you were saying, making a plan, they can go to any campus really and get help finding that way through. And then when I worked in the senior care community, that's why I'm so glad I found my way here to Helping Seniors of Brevard and Senior Resource Center of Brevard. That's what Joe is amazingly trying to do with Kerry and the team, is to find a place where someone who needs help can walk in and get that same type of guidance. They can have advisors, and they can have people that they trust and that, again, know that local scene as to what's going on. So having that holiday event was really about supporting also our local merchants. Yeah. We kind of forget we think healthcare when we think seniors, but really the community is made up of our local businesses and our local nonprofits and our local organizations. So I really wanted to bring in local business owners and local crafters, because they talk to so many people during the day. And having been in retail, in a previous lifetime, people will open up to you. They'll talk to you when they're buying things, and so and being retail is all about that, connecting with the person. You're not selling your wares; you're connecting with the customer. Yeah. And so it was really fun. We did. Sonata brought in a delicious apple cider.
Goodness,
it was wonderful, and we had some just great Dana's Cupcakes and More was there. We had representation from the Green Circle Gallery in downtown Cocoa Village. We had Rocksteady Boxing that came. Malabar Discount Pharmacy, or Family Discount Pharmacy, was there. Just a whole bevy of wonderful vendors that want to do it again soon. So, and the next goal is to bring more senior community. Sonata also brought a bus over of a couple of their residents. So the goal is to just keep, as Kerry was saying, is to keep things local and to keep things open, to keep things moving forward in an open door policy. So if someone does have a question about senior care, they don't have to Google. And if they're here in South Brevard, they go, you know what, the first stop I should do is go by the Senior Resource Center of Brevard and see how they can help me.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful place to visit, which is a perfect segue into introducing our guest today. We're so excited to have Lynne Brezina with the Brevard Cultural Alliance, and you're in charge of the whole Art in Public Spaces program. And first of all, it's so exciting, and we're going to talk about how beautiful you made our space. But welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's really an honor to be here. Gives me an opportunity to talk about my program, and I was so excited when Susan contacted me. So, yes, it's just wonderful.
Yeah, so we have just a moment for a backstory, and then we're going to take our mid-show break, and we're really going to come in and dive into this. But so when we get the office, I have to tell you that our office had been vacant for like probably a couple of years, because when Joe Steckler, our president and founder, and Nancy Deerdorf walked in, they said, you know what? This is where we came and got our COVID shots. So that was their connection with it. And apparently it had been vacant since then. So we were just so glad to have the space. It's a wonderful opportunity for helping seniors to pursue this. And so I was happy because the walls were, I called it Helping Seniors logo colors, which is kind of red and gold. Everybody else in the office said, Kerry, that's not red and gold. That's like old ketchup and mustard stains. And so
it was a little rough, yeah.
They embarked on a process that we got to have somebody donate paint and help us donate the painting so we can get all this cleaned up and looking the way we really want it to. My goodness. They were 1,000% right. I said that to Nancy. She said, this is a priority. I said, helping seniors is our priority, not necessarily beautifying our office. She goes, trust me on this. I'm willing to make the calls on my own time, get this to happen. So she did, and she made it happen, and the office painting looked great. About that time, Susan walks in and says, but we could take it to the next level, and I know just who to call to make that happen. And so she calls her friend Lynne Brezina and says, can you help us with this? And I got to tell you, now our facility rivals like an art gallery. It's just people walk in, and before they were like, oh, this is nice. You guys are going to work and make this nice. Now they walk in and go like, this is the nicest place I've been in recently. And that's a real credit to you and that program, Lynn.
Well, thank you so much. But I'll tell you, when I walked in the facility, it was like a blank canvas. Okay, what can I do with this? And so, Susan and I talked about where we'd like to place the art and all of that, and what kind of art they really preferred. Was it beachy or whatever. But I do have to tell you, most of our art is created by seniors.
Wow.
Yes, I was just sitting here thinking about that because a lot of the seniors that exhibit with me, they can't do the shows anymore. They don't have the time or the energy to exhibit in galleries and that. So they'll bring their art to me and they'll say, okay, we'll get it approved, and I handle it from there. They don't have to haul it. They don't have to do anything.
Wow.
Just bring me their art.
Wow. Well, we are going to dive deep into this artwork subject as we come back on the second half of the Helping Seniors show. So stay tuned because the best of this is yet to come.
Glenn Miller there with some music of your life. We've got some music of conversation of your life going on right now. And let's get back to the show as we reintroduce the Executive Director of Helping the Seniors of Brevard and the host of our show, Kerry Fink. Kerry?
Well, thank you, John Harper. I was thinking you were smiling when you were talking about the music of your life. The founder of the music of your life was a gentleman named Al Hamm, very famous record producer who was very instrumental in the careers of some, well, I would call them all-time favorites like Johnny Mathis and Tony Bennett and things like that. He was one of the head producers there, right-hand man to Mitch Miller at Columbia Records, and he always had this talk. He always had this thing. He said there needs to be a talk of your life too. So that's what we're actually having, a talk of our life, and we're having fun of our life on the Helping Seniors radio show today because we actually titled this "How to Make Your Holiday Beautiful." And so in the first half of the show, let me welcome our guest back. First of all, longtime friend of the Helping Seniors organization. It's none other than Susan Houts with Coastal Occupational Therapy, and we shared some good updates on what happened this week with the CarFit program, but also more generally with the drivability program that Jeetal Patel, who is the owner of Coastal Occupational Therapy, does, and also some of the great services that are available in your home through Coastal Occupational Therapy. So welcome back, Susan.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and then we were just getting introduced to a new great friend of Helping Seniors. Her name is Lynne Brezina of Brevard Cultural Alliance, and in particular, the Art in Public Spaces program, and she single-handedly, well, together with the help of Susan, they transformed our senior resource center, Brevard County. It's that 5,600 square foot beautiful space dedicated to improving the caliber and quality of life for seniors in Brevard County, one of the services that we are so desperately trying to make sure we get right for seniors in our county through Joe Steckler's Helping Seniors of Brevard, the organization that he kind of envisioned and created. And this has always been part of it. And you've just made it beautiful. And I was saying to Susan when she came to me, she said, I have this idea that we could really take this to the next level. She said, we need to get involved with the Brevard Cultural Alliance. Now, just for the record, this is how ignorant I am. We've had a home here since 1998. Although admittedly weren't full-time Floridians till about 2008, but I really wasn't aware of the impact. I didn't even know the program. And then as I'm getting to meet Lynne, you're talking about some of the amazing programs. So you're very familiar with the work, even if you didn't know the program existed, I think.
Right. I mean, it's really quite. Well, I started so long ago, I feel like I'm older than dirt. But when we first started, we only had a couple of locations in the county, you know, like we did Cape Canaveral Hospital, we did the government buildings. And, I mean, I was afraid to put a nail in the wall.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, my God, I'm in a government building. I'm going to start pounding nails. And then, you know, as you go along over years, you start learning more about the art, more about, you know, preferences, who likes what. And the whole thing is, my program, we have it so that it can be viewed by people of all ages. That is so important. So we don't get into anything controversial. But it's been quite a learning experience for me over the years.
Yeah, I think you mentioned you'd been at this like 28 years.
28 years. I started out as a novice, and now I know a little bit.
Well, I was asking the question because I'm the neophyte in this. So I said, you know, a lot of times art experts would make you feel like, you know, you're so beneath them because you don't understand all the stuff. I mean, I guess it's part of the culture that we see in you know, on TV shows or movies where, you know, there's this very highbrow, you know, art expert, and they're going to lecture you about art. But what I love about what you do is you just make it really accessible for everybody.
Right. Art isn't for the elite. Art is for everybody. Everybody has their own taste. You don't have to be an expert to say, hey, I really love that painting and I want it in my home. It has nothing to do with being an expert. It has to do about evoking emotion. When you see a painting and it makes you smile, then that's the painting for you. It doesn't matter if it's technically correct. That's not part of it. It's for everybody.
You know, I was thinking, Susan, you're very familiar with the fact that we publish in the center of Senior Scene magazine each month. We have the Helping Seniors newsletter. It's 12 pages. We kind of call it the yellow pages because we stuck a little yellow border around it. And those of us who are old enough to remember yellow pages, we remember that was how we got information before you had an online search, you know. And so that is what we try to do in the center of that magazine. But one of the things that I feel like publisher John Fredrickson has been able to do with that publication over the years, first of all, he, like Helping Seniors, is 100% local. Everything that he puts in the magazine is about local life right here in Brevard County. And I have another friend of mine who always says, you know, really, if you think about it, you watch national TV, you watch international TV, but life is really lived locally. And so you have to develop that. And one of the things that John has done over the years, he always uses beautiful art from local artists to grace the cover of the magazine every single month. And then I come to find out, talking with you, Lynne, you help him with that a lot.
Absolutely. He'll give me a call and he'll say, Lynne, it's coming on Easter. Can you send me some images? So I'll go through my thousands of images of local art, and he'll tell me which one he prefers. And then I'll go ahead. I have usually the bios on the artists, and I'll send him all the information. And so I'll provide the inner story for his magazine on the artists. It's really great. It's a great partnership that we have, so that, you know, he knows if he needs something and he needs it quick, he can call me.
Yeah, and I love it because you were talking about some of the places with the art in public spaces program that you run in. So not only would you see some of the great work of local artists, for example, on the cover of Senior Scene magazine each month when you get your free copy, 500 locations around Brevard County, as I think they're every place. But then you also have been in so many high visibility spaces with this program. I was like, as you were rattling them off, I was like, wow, we're really pretty fortunate to be in that count, to have that kind of level of artwork. And I love how you said it's really focused on local artists. Talk about that for a minute, because when we think art, we're thinking like, oh, the Village in New York City, or things like that. But you talk about, we have such a vibrant art scene here.
Right now, I'll tell you, I work with between 250 and 300 artists in our community. I mean, this is a place to create. Sure, there may be other metropolitan areas, but they're in Brevard, they can create. They have the space. It's just a whole different vibe. And so, I work with many, many artists. I do Melbourne International Airport. I've been doing them for 20 years or more.
Wow.
Ever since the Cuban rafts, I think, washed up on the shores of Melbourne Beach.
Wow.
And someone else made art out of them,
Wow.
We do Dean Mead Law Firm, CRI, another local business, CPA firm. It just goes on and on. I have 27 sites in the county businesses like Lexus of Melbourne. But then I also do the government buildings and some of the county commissioners. If they wish to have art placed in their lobby, I'll also place it there.
I didn't even know the program existed, which doesn't mean a whole lot. But I mean, it was...
Maybe that's not a good thing on our part.
Well, no, it just means, we don't... So I always say this about programs for seniors. Why do you need an organization like Helping Seniors? We're such a small organization, we can't really, it's not like we can dole out money or things like that. We don't have those kind of resources. But what we do have is information. And I often say this, if there's a program out there that's going to benefit a senior and you don't know about it, that program might as well not exist from your perspective. And as soon as somebody illuminates the fact that there's help out there, you become aware of it. That's kind of like priceless, and we see it happen often with families. Joe has always talked that aging is on-the-job training, right? So the best you can hope to do is get some clues as you go down the road from people who have successfully navigated. If I've heard it once, I've heard it a dozen times. Amy B. Van Fossen, who's one of the top elder law attorneys in our area, she says, Kerry, the average family goes through some event in their life, maybe once, maybe twice through family members. She goes, we're dealing with 30 or 40 of these a week. We know this territory. And that's what I'm thinking about when I learned about the Brevard Cultural Alliance and this program. I was like, what a valuable program, because more people need to know what a way to beautify their offices, support the local art community, and just help make Brevard even more beautiful as we go along. How does that program work? Explain it to somebody. Maybe they're a business owner and they don't know that it's available.
It's great. All they have to do is reach out to me, 321-604-5276. That is a direct line. If they want to have art in their office, they give me a call. I'll go down and do a site evaluation. And what I do is I speak to the staff and I say, okay, where is it that you want to place this art? Now, it's very important it's in a public space. It's not in someone's office where nobody's going to see it. We want to be sure it's out front. And once we determine how many pieces, then there is a small fee in order for us to go in and hang the art, and we do switch it out 3 times a year. So, and there is input from the staff. What type of art do you want? Sometimes I'll send selections and say, okay, which would you prefer? And so, and then I'll also, if someone wishes to purchase it, then they'll contact me and we'll set up the purchase. So then the artist will get the dollars from the sale of their artwork.
It's such a fascinating program. And I was going to ask Susan Houts with Coastal Occupational Therapy to talk for a second, because you really kind of spearheaded this and what you did. Because as a nonprofit, we are always essentially dedicated to being as frugal as we possibly can. And Susan goes, well, there's kind of a nominal fee, but I think if we get everybody to just chip in a few, it wasn't a lot of money, actually, it was very affordable. If we just get everybody to participate in this, it's going to work for everybody. Talk about the process of how you got everybody galvanized around this.
Wrangled them. I did.
Yeah. Tell it.
Wrangled them together. Well, we had just put so much effort into painting the walls, and every resident sponsor that we have at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard is just they come from the heart. They really are there for the sake of the seniors, and they're there to continue to beautify Brevard. And so we talked about the Brevard Cultural Alliance. Some were familiar and some were not, which again, this was full disclosure, this was a bucket list project for me. I've been a big fan of Brevard Cultural Alliance for a very long time. I've been looking for spaces to put the painting. So when we had this, as Lynn said, a blank canvas. So the resident sponsors, along with Coastal Occupational Therapy, I'm afraid to list them because I'm afraid I'm going to miss somebody, but you'll have to come by the center and see.
Yes.
Each person donated enough to co-sponsor or sponsor a space. Ruth Rhodes Law is one that pops to mind with a beautiful bird. There's some at the entrance. There's some gorgeous paintings in there that we would love everybody to come by and see because it is a public space. And everyone just wanted to support not only making our office space beautiful, but for everyone who comes in to the Resource Center of Brevard to have, a moment of wow.
Yeah,
and they really are. They're actually, some of them look like prints. They're really not. They're all paintings, and they're all from local artists. And like Lynn said, many of them are seniors. So it's just an exciting tie-in, and we know that a lot of our audiences overlap. So we thought also from a perspective, like Kerry was saying, of awareness, if we could let the artists and the supporters of Brevard Cultural Alliance know that the Senior Resource Center is there and vice versa. So, if we work with our clients and such as like Coastal Occupational Therapy, if we work with some of our clients and their artists, and then some of their, occupations, their ADLs, activities of daily living, if they wanted to get back to painting, that would give us an avenue to connect with Lynn, and that can be life-changing. It really is. We are big believers of changing lives one at a time, because what is small to one person, being able to transfer out of a chair into the bed or vice versa, or being able to walk to the mailbox and back as opposed to using a walker or wheelchair, that might not seem a lot to the bigger system, but to that one person, it's everything. So each painting represents so much for each person who painted it. And I just know the impact that art can have on every single person. So every time I walk in, I'm just so grateful to Lynn and the Brevard Cultural Alliance for bringing that opportunity for all of us to have that moment of wow when we go to work.
Well, several of our artists that I work with, they go into these facilities and they have art programs for the seniors.
Wow. And
she'll post it on Facebook and show the results of all the art that they have created. It's really it's very healing.
Yes.
It's like a art and wellness program. I remember I used to do the cancer centers, and one woman told me, she goes, I went in a room and I was waiting for the doctor and I was all tensed up. And I looked up and I saw a painting and it was done by a friend of mine. So I felt like I had someone in the room with me.
Wow.
So, that's one of these stories that I was like, I could never forget. And so art really does impact you in a lot of very positive ways.
And what I also really loved that Lynn said is that a lot of the artists are seniors, and they can no longer, again, it's near and dear to our Coastal Occupational Therapy hearts, but they can no longer go to a show or exhibit or take those steps. And so through this program, they have that opportunity to know their art is being seen. So when I was able to go back to your original question, Kerry, when I was able to just get the rest of our resident sponsors on board, they were just so generous with their donation, and then just they feel that kind of ownership of that opportunity, and it just makes us all smile when we walk around the office because the paintings are absolutely gorgeous. It just makes, again, for us, better days, and that's what art really is all about.
And I can't wait. I'm already starting to curate your next selections.
Yay!
So you'll be able to say, okay, we want this one there and this one there. Well, I'll take care of it.
Wonderful. So make sure you're also staying tuned to our Facebook page at Coastal Occupational Therapy and Senior Resource Center of Brevard as we get those. We'll do a little event as we do that transfer of paintings so you can see what's going out and what's coming in, and make sure that you set some time apart to come by and see us.
Yeah, that's Susan Houts with Coastal Occupational Therapy. If you want to reach her with any questions about anything from how we implemented this art program to the things we've been talking about, drivability, or just, the good things that you can do to help seniors keep things moving, keep life moving. Again, what's the number to reach you?
Yes, sir. It's 321-361-8040.
And I'm so excited about everything we're unpacking with our new friend Lynne Brezina with the Brevard Cultural Alliance. Because we already said we got to have her come back and do TV show where we can show some of the artwork and some of those, and so we're going to get all that on tap. But if somebody wants to,
I would love to do that.
Investigate, because you have a background in that. You helped. I guess at the time it was Spectrum. Help them get a focus
program at when it was Bright House. Yeah.
Oh, Bright House.
It was a lot. It was a lot of fun. I mean, the artists were great.
Yeah. And so if somebody wants to give a call or learn more about the program, what's a good way for them to reach you?
Well, the best way to reach me would be call me at 321-604-5276, and I'll be at your service.
Oh, it's so exciting. And so I wanted to reserve a moment or two because I've got a great date coming up for you to come check out the Senior Resource Center Brevard and check out this art. Apparently before we switch it out, right? Because if you come to our office, it's going to be Tuesday. Put this on your calendar. Tuesday, December 12th. And that starts at 11, right, Susan? That's when we have a great program that we're launching now with our friends at Care Plus. They're one of the top Medicare Advantage plans in the area. They have just tremendous people, tremendous expertise in this, longtime friends of helping seniors, but also our friends at Omni Healthcare, who make it actually possible for us to have the senior resource. We've all gotten together and we're launching this really exciting education program. It's happening on the first Tuesday of each month, and we've got some really exciting things. I think Jeetal Patel from Coastal Occupational Therapy in upcoming months is going to be helping with assessing fall risk and making sure you're on track with balance. We've talked about things like inviting Chef Jillian Zabris with Chefs for Seniors. She's going to do some cooking classes. I was thinking there might even be a painting thing or some kind of an art thing that we might concoct as we imagine this moving down the road. But I want to start with Tuesday, December 11th, because we decided what we want to do was get all of our center partners together and kind of have a little bit of what did we title it as, a holiday health fair, right?
Yes.
And so we're going to have everybody represented from the center there. So they'll have tables, information. It's holiday season, so we're going to make sure there's some hot chocolate and some things like that. But you're also going to get some good information from our friends at Omni. And again, that's a full, excellent. They've got so many great practitioners, offices around the county. You'll learn a little bit about them and how to get the best care that you can through, their doctors, or really any doctor. Just learn how to talk with your doctor. And then Care Plus is going to make sure that you're up to speed on the things that may be changing. What happens is if you're not paying attention, you get a renewal in the mail and some prescription that you rely on was covered this year but may not be covered in 2024, or worse yet, maybe a doctor that is very important to you is no longer on that particular plan, and now you've got to rethink things, and you don't want to be doing that on the fly, because one thing we keep learning in our little helping seniors world is that you want to be proactive about this aging thing. That's why Joe calls it an aging plan. We call it getting your ducks in a row. We jokingly said, don't try this on your own, because that's so important. And then we said we're going to launch our theme for 2024, since we like all these animals and this barnyard kind of theme, was going to be, don't be an ostrich. And it's going to be like helping you understand that let's take advantage of these things now while we have plenty of time to get ahead of it. And that's the whole point of this program, Susan. Talk a little bit about the excitement that we're going to be having coming up on December 12th, again, 11 a.m., right there at the Senior Resource Center.
Yeah, the idea is, again, to bring folks into the center to be able to experience the resources that we have there. We're going to try and get all of our vendors, our sponsors.
Our sponsors, yes.
Thank you, out into the lobby so that you can see. We have a door decorating contest. Each resident sponsor has decorated their office door so you can come by. And it's really just an opportunity to get into the holiday spirit and learn a little bit about the health anyway. As we move into the new year, we call it, my tagline for that is, let's have a holly jolly healthy holiday. So we want to make sure we know that things are just going to get faster as the end of the year approaches. And as we start the new year, we want to make sure we're getting off on the right foot. So, Tuesday, December 12th, stop by and see us. We will have a lot of fun activities. There'll be a lot of people for you to meet and just an opportunity to get some information so you feel ready and prepared for the new year, because we know pretty soon we're going to blink. It'll be Christmas. It'll be the end of the year. And then we're going to be looking at 2024, and we want to make sure we are armed with as much information as possible.
Yeah, this is going to be so good. I hope that we will have, we'll make sure that you could tell people I'm going to the art museum on Tuesday as well, because you'll be able to see all the wonderful artwork that's on the wall. Who knows, Lynn, maybe you could even coax one of the great local artists to come out and join us,
My wheels are spinning.
Good. That would be amazing, because people need to see kind of like the heroes behind this artwork, because I think it's inspiring, like you hear the stories and you say like, wow, maybe I should, I've always had this passion for it. I don't really know what I'm doing, but maybe I should try to learn a little bit more.
Well, I think they'd really enjoy it. Matter of fact, one artist just moved back here to Brevard, and she's 89 or 87, I think.
Wow.
And she's got these most gorgeous paintings, and she goes, I am so glad that we connected, because now I can get my work back out there. And she sold a piece.
Wow, terrific.
So it was like, now this inspires me to keep painting. And her son's going, you don't know how many paintings she has.
Well, Lynne Brezina from Brevard Cultural Alliance Art and Public Spaces Program, and Susan Houts with Coastal Occupational Therapy. So excited. We're going to be looking forward to having this opportunity on the 12th of December, 11 a.m. at the Senior Resource Center of Brevard, which is 1344 South Apollo Drive. So right there on the medical campus, that beautiful 4-story Omni Healthcare building. Just find us on the second floor. We're not hard to, once you get to the second floor, you'll find us, and we'll be there. We'll be actually taking over the lobby that day with hot chocolate, all of our partners, and then you'll even get the art tour as no extra charge. So we will see you there then. And this is the time we have for this week. We'll see you next week on Helping Seniors Radio. Till then, have a great week.